Wow, guys, it's been a bit. So this last week, all right, here's the deal. I never thought about it for recording wise because I live in the desert. And there's one thing that desert doesn't get a lot of. Anyone want to guess? Yeah, we don't get a lot of rain. And so I wasn't concerned about rain and recording. So I didn't think anything of it. I just did nothing. And we have had rain for over a week now. Over a week? Am I right? Yeah, I think. Or for a week. I don't know. We've had rain for a long time. And yeah, I couldn't get out here. I can't bring my laptop out if it's raining. And so I was just like, I don't want it to get wet, right? And so, looking back, this is where my brain isn't. Looking back, I could have put it in a trash bag or something to, because even I don't trust my, except I have the one I bought for England. I have a laptop case. I was thinking, I don't trust mine. It's got a canvasy material. I don't know if it would keep it dry. So I'm not going out there. And of course I get drenched going in and out anyway, right? So yeah, no, Toothless is pouting because I'm not playing. But so I didn't come out and I'm like, I can't do this. This is just not a thing. And it's my whole schedule after Kevin's accident is totally messed up. See, before this, he goes to bed 9:30 at night. So at 9 o'clock, I come out here, I sit, I read. What is going by? Sounds like a herd of elephants out there. I mean, it's, 2 in the morning? I think it's 2 in the morning. No, it's 1 in the morning. I don't know my times. Okay. But seriously, I come out here at 9, I do my Bible study, I sit down and read, and, I get to work at around midnight, and I work until 6, and his life is grand. So I have plenty of time during all that, right? Cleaning my glasses. But with him home, he's terrified he won't sleep. I know. He had a hard time sleeping in the beginning because I think it was the pain meds. I think it messed up his sleep schedule. It always does. So, but he's terrified. So he's staying up until midnight every night, which means I don't come out here till midnight. So we're watching massive amounts of murder shows because murder shows and havocs. But so I mean, I have if it's out there, I've probably seen it. And what can we do, right? So can I just say it's really annoying when a show starts off for 4 or 5 seasons with not maybe a word every episode, and we're talking 2-hour episodes. It has a word, and then the last 2 seasons they just dump it on you, and we're like, is it going to get worse? Should we just quit this? But of course, each episode doesn't end the mystery. It's got to go on through the entire season. So we wouldn't know who did it. And so we're like, what do we do? So we kept just dealing with it. Because I mean, it wasn't every 5 minutes. It wasn't even every 10 minutes. But it was half a dozen times an episode. Whereas before it was maybe once. Maybe. Just nothing. And I'm like, why? Just why? Why are you doing this to me? So, note to any producers out there, if you're going to have garbage in your shows, can you put it in the first episode so people know if they don't want, because I don't think we'll ever do it again. When we got done, we were glad we knew what happened with the show. But if it comes back with another season, we don't think we're going to watch it. Although I have to admit, the last one was better. Was it the last one? Yeah, I think the last season was better than the one before it. I think they are trying to fit it with the characters, but yeah, no, just not a good thing. So I've been doing other things. I made that quilt I showed you, and I made another one I'll show you in a video at some point, maybe later. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a weird kind of haul thing. So I'll share it in that, but it's just like I haven't been able to get out here. So here I am talking for, 5 minutes about why I'm not here and, whatever. So I'm going to give you what I read in January, which wasn't much. And what I've been reading so far in February, which again isn't much, but I feel like whatever was like holding me up really was that book. So, because I am much more eager to read in a way that before I was just kind of like meh. So we'll see. I have chosen 4 books to unhaul for my 50 to unhaul this year. And so that was good. Anything else? I don't know. How about we get into what I read in January and then so far in February? Yeah, let's go with that. So first up, I'm not going to do it in the order that I did it because it makes no sense. I have not reviewed this one on Goodreads yet, so I need to do that. But okay, so Vinyl Resting Place. The really fun play on words in the back, the just light-hearted, really fun that is in the back of this, I never found really in the story. And as a matter of fact, I didn't care about the story. It was like, you know, by the end, I did finish it. I actually did read it all. I gave it 3 stars, which I don't think is generous, because I don't know that all of the problems that I was having is the book. I do think some of it is me, so it's probably not generous. It's okay. You know, and that's my rubric. I loved it. I liked it. It's okay. I didn't like it. I hated it. It's the old Amazon rubric, and I still stick to it, even on Goodreads, although their rubric is very different. I use it anyway because I want it to be the same everywhere, right? And so I just, in this one, you have 3 sisters who open a coffee record shop, and on their big launch day, the what am I calling it? There's someone murdered. And the someone murdered has their uncle's business card in her hand, so the police think it's the uncle. The police happen to be her ex. Shocker, right? The main gal, Junie, her ex. And there's also an old friend who always had a thing for her. That's very clear to everybody but her. And so it kind of brings in this like triangle thing, but is it? I don't know. I think they're setting it up for a long-term series where, you know, who's she going to, you know, fall for or whatever. I didn't care about either guy. I mean, the one friend, the best friend from years ago, he's a nice guy, but he's really, really bland. The other guy is interesting, but he's kind of a jerk. I don't like him. I mean, I didn't like the uncle. Maybe the uncle's friend. Maybe. I don't know. The uncle and his friend were really immature and ridiculous. It's like, who did I like it? I think I liked the cat because I didn't see him much. I don't know. It was a huge disappointment. And I think that's kind of why I feel like I'm being generous. But really, the story itself, aside from what I was expecting from it, it's a mystery. And, you know, it's a mystery. It just... Yeah, and there's a theme going on here, which is why I'm trying to be really careful with what I'm doing, because I also read, I'll put it somewhere, I better make sure I get I think it's the Birdcage Murders, but no, that was the other one. I've already read that one. A Wreath of Red Roses. Okay, A Wreath of Red Roses started off, it's by Karen Men something Baugh. Or Baugh meant something. Menuhin. Karen Baugh Menuhin. And it's the Heathcliff Lennox. I think it's number 8 or something like that. And this one started off and I wasn't into it. And because of the not into it's that I had already, I was really blaming it on the accident and all the stuffness. Because I was like, what's going on? I don't get it. My throat's all of a sudden getting weird. So, I was like, oh no, because Heathcliff Lennox, those are some of my favorite, and I listened to them on audio, they're some of my favorites. Heathcliff is a hoot. He goes around with his cat and dog everywhere he goes, and his butler, and he's just a whole lot of fun. And he works with his friend, the ex-Scotland Yard detective, and they solve cases, right? They go to this one place, and I was just not feeling it. And I was like, this is a disappointment. And I almost set it aside because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. And I'm not sure it was. It might have been the book. And it might have been deliberate. Because this time he's leaving his wife, not as in we're separating, but he's, his wife is staying home. He's going off to do this thing. So she's not there with him. He's keeping something from her, and it's making him feel guilty, and it should. And no, he's not having an affair. Sorry, but that's where the brain goes with most, mainstream fiction, right? No, he's just keeping something from her. And so I think it was actually really well written, and it's showing that it's affecting him, and I think it looks that way in the story, and you're like, what? But because of where my headspace was, maybe I didn't catch it as well, or maybe it wasn't done well. But I do think it was deliberate, that opening part, that it was just, but the story turned out to be so good. The mystery was good. The background, it was chilling. I did not expect Karen's a her. I did not expect her to go there with it the way she did. And I mean, I guessed it, but I was sure I was wrong because it didn't make sense. And then I was wrong, but not in the way I thought I was. And so it was just like, okay, I'm going to put it this way. I don't want to give too much away. No, I can't. It would totally spoil it. Yeah, it would spoil it. And I don't think I should spoil it. Part of me wants to just say, skip forward if you don't want to know. But I'm not going to because I'm afraid I'll forget to do timestamps. So, but there was something that happened that instigated all of this stuff. And I thought I knew who was responsible for it happening. And I was. And what I was wrong about is the how and the why and all the stuff. And because I was wrong about that, I was also wrong about what was going on now, even though I was right. It's so twisted and so cool. Really, really loved it. I think in a lot of ways, except for the way that first part started out, I think it's a notch above her others. Now, the reason I think that it was deliberate. It reminds me of how some people felt about my book Prairie. So like the first 4-ish chapters of Prairie, I kept really slow and meandering. I was trying to set a tone and trying to pull the reader away from busy life. And I may have done it too well, or I may have done it terribly. And both maybe even at the same time, because there were a few people that were like, yeah, I just wasn't getting into it. It was kind of draggy, and then it boof. And I was like, well, I did that deliberately. I clearly didn't do it well. Or maybe there isn't a way to do it well, or maybe something else. I don't know. But I do wonder if that wasn't the case on this one. So A Wreath of Roses, it was really good. I only gave it 4 stars though because of that opening meh. And I'm not sure it was right of me, but I'm sticking with my decision for the time because I'm thinking you can't just change them all the time when you look back later and you decide you like it all, right? And so I because it was such a strong feeling of I almost DNF'd it for now. I would have re-listened because I do like her books. But because I was almost at that point, I decided I better stick up with 4. And then, okay, this is why whenever it comes to PJ Fitzsimmons, I have to pay very close attention to the title, because he likes his alliteration a lot, and we'll talk about that. So the next one was Reckoning at the Riviera Royale. Here's the deal. I love the way P.G. Fitzsimmons uses words. He puts alliteration and rhyming into everything. Like he has a chapter and then he has a a chapter title, and the chapter title is all alliterative usually. And he does this wordplay throughout his stuff. He just has fun with words. You can tell that the writer is having fun writing his words. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But it was a bit much. I don't know why this time, but it kept annoying me this time. I was like, okay, no. And I don't know if it would have annoyed me as much if I had been reading it as opposed to listening. So there is that. But because I'm rating what it did, I gave it 4 stars because it got tedious. It was bad. But the mystery itself was a good mystery. There were lots of twists and turns. I didn't figure all of it out. And what I didn't figure out messed up one of my conclusions. I was totally wrong on that. Other conclusions, I was like, it has to be this, but I don't know why I think that. I couldn't articulate it. I just knew, your brain puts pieces together. And it was like I was putting the puzzle together upside down, and I knew those pieces fit there, but I had no idea what was on the other side. It was kind of that thing. And that was cool. And I like his series. And I will listen to the next one, but if the alliteration bothers me again, they aren't so great that I will stick with the series. I will probably cut it. Like the Verity Bright, Lady Eleanor Swift series. I had fun with them. They're not the best mysteries ever or anything, but I had a lot of fun with them. But when the Murder in Manhattan, I disliked it so much. I mean, I go back now and I want to give it 1 star because I really, really, really disliked that one. I didn't realize how much until time had passed, and it still just irritates me. And so when I saw that there was another one out, I went to buy it because it's Habit, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't care. And that, I'm not there yet with this. But I feel like if I hit another one that the alliteration and all that annoys me, then I might be there. And that's kind of sad because I don't want to be there. I just, I don't. So anyway, and then Road Trip Rescue finally got through it, because I had read 2/3 of it, but I had read like these chapters, and then you skip a bit, and then I had read these chapters, and you skip a little bit, and then I had read these, and because I used a lot of this book as inspiration in Clock Tower Bound, and so I wanted to actually read it, and I think I managed to get through all of it. I went back and I was like, okay, this is familiar, skip. Okay, this isn't familiar, go back a couple pages, keep reading. I did that, and I probably should have just read from the end of the beginning to end because I liked the book a lot. I think it's at least a 4.5 star. It kind of shows a lot of... Okay, so in the book, let me just tell you about the book. So in the book, Kimmy sees a picture of what she thinks is her dog having an ice cream up in, I think it's Maine. Is it Maine? No, in the Adirondacks. Up in the Adirondacks. And I think she's in Pennsylvania. And so she wants her parents to drive her up there to get this dog, and they won't do it. She doesn't understand why they won't do it. But then her aunt comes, and her aunt's like, I'll take you. We'll go on a road trip. And her parents aren't real thrilled. But they let her go. And then along the way, her aunt runs into an old friend, and Kimmy makes a friend, and they get to the place, and they talk to the people about the dog, and she figures out where the dog is, and she goes, and then it's the whole story, not only about that, but even stuff at home. She learns lessons on this trip, and it's not preachy. It's not preachy, but she learns enough lessons on this trip that there were some girls who had made fun of her. The author, as well as Kimmy, were born with only part of one of their arms. She heard her best friend making fun of her to 2 other girls that are like in this little cliquey thing, and the friend is trying to get ingratiated in there and then walks away from her. And so she was really upset. And in this, it was beautiful because at the end of this one, she sends a letter of forgiveness to her friend. And because that's what she has learned. And basically it says, you may not want to be my friend anymore, and that there's nothing I can do about that, but I need to do what's right. And I was like, yes, yes. Why don't adults learn this? Because I don't know what it is, but sometimes it feels like kids find it harder to grasp the concept. But once they grasp it, they seem to find it easier to do it than adults. Adults can grasp the concept that forgiveness is something we have to do regardless of the other person, but we're less likely to just do it. And I thought she showed that really well. It's a really sweet, a really fun book. And she's the second one. I think the Kickstarter goes up in April, and I will definitely be backing the Kickstarter again because, yeah. And I have it on audio, so I want to listen to the whole thing through on audio, which is, now that I think about it, why I decided I was just going to read the stuff and then, not go from beginning to end because I was going to listen on audio. Yeah, that's what I was doing. See, I had a method to my madness. Oh, I have 5 books. Final Resting Place is going on my list of bye-byes. Score! All right, and then everything else I have read. Okay, well, so I've started The Curate of Glaston. I've only gotten 3 chapters in, I think. I just did it last night before I went to bed. So it starts off, it's The Curate's Awakening, which I can't remember what the original title was for The Curate's Awakening. It might have just been Thomas Wingate. I don't know. But it starts off, there's a dinner party at this house in Scotland. They clearly have money. The curate is invited, as well as this young man that this aunt wants her niece to marry. And they have dinner, and then the men are out there just ready to leave. And the one man, the one that the aunt wants her niece to marry, he makes a comment to the curate. Basically, it's like, you don't believe the stuff you teach. How do you stand it? And the guy isn't being insulting. He is not attacking, but he is addressing an issue, and the curate doesn't know what to do with this. And that's where I ended with this curate going, he's walking home and he passes the lane into his house, and he's going to keep walking. And I'm like, it was so good. It was a great start. I was like, yes, because yes. So that made me really, really, really excited. And then I did start Winter Holiday by Terry Blank. I'm a third of the way into it. And this is why I'm really concerned, because I have loved this series. And this one isn't doing it for me again. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why am I having so much trouble with books that I'm expecting to like? Because I'm also almost 2/3 done with January's Trollop the Warden. And it's not that I don't enjoy the story. I do enjoy the story. And I like the writing. And I love the subtle satire. Satire is probably not the right word. But there's subtle humor for sure in it. He is mocking some things. And he's doing it so gently and so subtly that it's almost like people who would be offended by it probably wouldn't notice because he's careful. And yet people who are discerning enough to see that just because there are good things in something doesn't mean that the whole thing is good. And so I'm not sure that I know what I'm talking about here, but that's what it feels like to me. But I'm not loving it like I really expected to. I loved Dr. Thorne. And so I'm like, I don't know. But I'm not hating it. It's just there. And this one I'm not hating. It's just there. I am still loving The Pilgrim Inn. I'm still not done. Because, again, I have not been reading. But still loving this. And I still haven't touched Cat Among the Pigeons. But what I have done, while I've done all of this quilting, I made both table runners. I have been listening to the Mrs. Polyax books again. I started it back in January, and so far right now I'm in the middle of number 11. So I'm trying to think about if there were things about each one that I didn't catch in the first ones. The Unexpected Mrs. Polyax is brilliant, and I really, 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 really loved it. Again, okay, so with the Polyax books, I'm just going to throw this out there. So these are mainstream. They are not Christian fiction by any stretch. And you can watch the shift of writing styles. Because like in the first ones, she relies heavily on adverbs. It's sad to think that if these books were presented today, there's a chance they would never have been published because of her use of adverbs. She uses them a ton. And I mean, almost every verb seems to have one. And normally that bothers me, and it does sometimes, even still. But the books are so fun and they're so good that I just overlook it. It's like they were the thing for a while, and then, now they're out. Well, you can see the progression of less adverbs, and her, when she was switching from using adverbs to not using adverbs, she was trading an adverb to an adverbial phrase, really. An adverbial prepositional phrase, because she would say, instead of angrily, she would say they did it with anger. And you're like, it's the same thing. It's really interesting just to watch the progression. I'm seeing less of it in this number 11 than I saw in the last 3 or 4, but it's fascinating. And it's like so many things you don't even need an adverb for. You don't need to tell me that if he slammed the book on the table, you don't need to tell me it's in anger. People don't slam books on tables for sheer joy of it. They're like, yeah, I'm happy slam. I mean, we just don't do that. So, if someone is clearly in a tense moment and they slam a book on the table, we know it's in anger. You don't have to tell us, So, I mean, it's kind of funny, but what I really loved going through this time, Barbara Rosenblatt is such a brilliant narrator, and she does such an incredibly great job in this one. But what I'm noticing in this one this round through, I think this is like, this has to be at least the 5th time I've listened to all of them. And there's only 14 and I'm on 11. So there's only 3 more after this, and it's so sad. But this time I'm catching nuances in side characters that I didn't catch before. And I think it's really, I think it just kind of goes to show that she's a more in-depth writer than we tend to give her credit for, because when you reread or re-listen to something that you've heard over and over and you're still catching new things, that's some layered writing that may not appear to be until, again, you get in there. And so I love these so much. And I think a couple of them have shifted into, if I was going to rank them, there's a couple that have become more favorite than they were, and I'm kind of dreading the next one because I know what comes next, and it's a hard one, and I'm just like, ew. So, but it's a good dread, okay? I'm just saying, it's good dread. So yeah, so on the one hand, and I'm still listening to Ascendant by Isaac Yorks, and I've gotten a little further in The Secrets Beneath, and again, on that one, I'm just like, there's just like no paleontology. I'm like, where is it? I haven't listened again to much more, but that's partly because I keep expecting it and it's not there. So that's kind of disappointing. But I think I'm going to like it. I just have to get far enough into it, and I'm not there yet. So I did decide when I was looking through all this stuff, I did decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do I've got a whole bunch of books on audiobooks that I haven't read. And so I think I'm going to do a video and just talk about the books that I have on my audiobooks shelf that I haven't read and see what you guys think, you know? Maybe there's something. I just bought another one. It's like last night. No, okay, I didn't have to pay for it though. I went to buy it and it came with my Audible membership, so I didn't have to buy it. It's Rabbi Smalls. I don't know anything about Rabbi Small, but I'm gonna ask about him. So yeah, there I am. I think that's everything. I think. So what you been reading? Had some good conversations with some authors. Really excited for a few books coming out. And so that's been fun. But yeah, I haven't even been out here. My dogs were so excited when they saw me coming out. They're like, yay, Bones. I mean, yay, Shittifus. No, they really don't like it when I don't come out. But I think they were really happy they didn't have to come out in the rain. So I'll give them that. But yeah, that's what I read in January. And so far in February, I'm hoping that I'm going to pick up and take off. Yeah. I really want to take off. You know what else? I read the first 10 pages in Mary Oliver's devotions. Oh, Whistling Swans. I really liked her Whistling Swans. Do you bow your head when you pray, or do you look up into that blue space? Take your choice. Prayers fly from all directions, and don't worry about what language you use. God, no doubt, understands them all. Even when the swans are flying north and making a ruckus of noise, God is surely listening and understanding. Rumi said, there is no proof of the soul. But isn't the return of spring and how it springs up in our hearts a pretty good hint? Yes, I know. God's silence never breaks. But is that really a problem? There are thousands of voices after all. And furthermore, don't you imagine? I just suggest that the swans know about as much as we do about the whole business. So listen to them and watch them singing as they fly. Take from it what you can. And I disagree with God's silence never breaks, because we have his word and it's ever singing to us. He joys over us with singing, it says. But I get the point. But I don't know. I was like, yeah. So far they've been pretty good. I don't know how much I'll love them. It's more, I'm trying to remember if it's free verse or blank verse. I get them confused. But okay. So anyway, yeah, that's it. That's what I've been doing. And I think I'm gonna come back and do a haul, and then I want to do my audiobook thing. So I will be here this week. I should be, unless something terrible happens. But thanks for sticking around, and thanks for the prayers. I don't know if I've said that, but I really want to say thank you again for all the prayers and all the support that you guys have given us, because it's meant a lot. And if I can just get some more sleep. It's not that I'm not getting enough. It's that I haven't caught up yet. And my body doesn't do well if my sleep is interrupted. So I'm still struggling there. But, it's what it is. I'll see you later.